First, I just want to thank everybody for attending and welcome you. This is our 8th virtual Oak Brook Business Network meeting, and my name is Rhonda Seelinger, and I am the Marketing Director for our networking groups. And before we get started with the presentation, I would just like to share a little bit of information about our groups. In 2008, the founders created 5 groups on LinkedIn, and we've trademarked their names. The 5 groups are the Naperville Business Network Group, Northwest, North Shore, Oak Brook, and Windy City Business Networks. The Naperville group grew to be the largest online LinkedIn group for Naperville with over 2,000 people. We have over 200 paid members. And for the Oak Brook group, we meet the first Monday of each month, and we always have a guest speaker. Normally, we meet in person at the Oak Brook Village building, but with COVID-19, for the remainder of this year and probably the first quarter maybe of 2021, we'll remain virtual on Zoom until it's safe for all of us to be together again. We also typically hold monthly happy hour events and quarterly formal dinners, and we hope that those will also be safe to resume sometime in the spring, and we'll of course let everyone know on our webpage. Until then, we do offer our members additional digital advertising options, etc. And if you'd like to learn more about that and more about our groups or future events or membership, you can visit our website at oakbrookbiz.net. Today's meeting is being recorded, and we will make it available on our website blog page later this week, also at oakbrookbiz.net. And if you have any questions or comments throughout the presentation, if you're on Zoom, use the chat box. And if you're on Facebook Live, just use the comment section, and we'll moderate those. I know our speaker has left some time for your questions and comments. And with that, I am very pleased to introduce today's guest speaker, Tom Kelly. Tom is the founder and owner of Potential in Motion Incorporated, and he is a business coach dedicated to working with salespeople, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and corporate executives that want to reach their full potential in both their business and their life. Tom is focused on coaching to the edge of what is possible by providing you with tools, support, and structure necessary to set better goals, increase your focus, and maximize results. And today, Tom will be discussing the referral process and developing a referral system for explosive growth. Tom, I'll let you take it over. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Rhonda. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Continuous Referrals, developing a referral system for explosive growth. As Rhonda mentioned, my slides are not changing here. Oh, here we go. As Rhonda mentioned, my name is Tom Kelly. I am a master certified business coach. I specialize in working with salespeople, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and corporate executives. Basically, what I do with my clients is I help them take their leadership and their business to the next level. And one of the things that I've been doing over the 18 years in my coaching practice is really helping my clients build referral systems so they can grow their business. And that's one of the areas of expertise that I have, which is what we're going to talk about today. Before we get started here, I want to give you an opportunity to download my slide deck so that you don't have to take notes, and you can also have it in the future to refer back to as we go through this material if you want a refresher on this. All you need to do is take out your cell phone, and if you text message the word referrals to the number 205-878-6236, it'll ask you for your email address and your first name, and then it'll send you a link to my slide deck, which you can download either right now or anytime you want, and then you can have my full slide deck. So I'll give you a minute now to go ahead and do that. Again, you can text message the word referrals to 205-878-6236. And I'll give you a second to do that, and we'll get into the material. You can also, too, by the way, just write this down on a quick sheet of paper if you're having challenges with this right now or you want to do it later. So again, one more time, you can text message referrals to 205-878-6236. So to get started this morning, I wanted to share a story. When I first graduated from college, my first job out of college was a sales engineer selling construction products, and I worked in a sales office here just outside of Chicago. And it was a regional office with about 12 salespeople in it. And one of the gentlemen that I worked with, his name was Bob. This isn't Bob, it's just a different guy, but we'll call him Bob. But Bob was the salesperson for our Chicago area, and he was the #1 salesperson in the country. And one of the things I noticed about Bob is every morning he would come in at 7:30 in the morning with his briefcase and cup of coffee, and he'd get settled in his office, and at about 8 o'clock, like clockwork, his phone would start to ring off the hook. And in fact, it would ring so much sometimes that some of the rest of us had to pick up his phone for him when he was on the phone. And usually, most of the time, it was people placing orders. And this would go on all day throughout the week. And Bob would get up from his desk maybe once or twice a week around lunchtime. And he would go ahead and take someone out to lunch and have a quick lunch meeting. But then he'd be back into the office and the phones would be ringing off the hook again. So as a new salesperson that was struggling and cold calling and pounding on doors and doing all that stuff, I was wondering what his secret was. So one day I offered to take Bob to lunch to pick his brain, and over lunch he shared with me some of his secrets, one of which was building a referral system. And he had built a referral system that he had used over the years, and what that allowed him to do is generate massive orders for his business. And that's really what we're here today to talk about, is building a referral system to help you take your business to the next level. So what is a referral system and why do you need one? Well, referral is a word that comes from Latin refer, which means to carry back. And basically, a referral is an opportunity to do business with someone that has a need for your product or service and has been recommended to you by someone that has already experienced in some way your product or service. So a couple key things here. Number one, a referral is an opportunity to do business. So that's important because you want to make sure that it's not just a referral to someone that has no interest in what you're doing. So that's the first key to this. The second key is the referral is coming from someone that's already experienced your business in some way. Now, this is critically important. One of the things I learned a long time ago with referrals, people would give me referrals and I would call the person up and I would really struggle with them because the person referring them to me had never used me as their coach. So oftentimes someone would say, well, hey, I've got a great coach for your business. And the person would say, well, do you use this person? And when they would say no, then all of a sudden the quality of that referral just drops down a couple notches because they're like, well, why are you referring me to this person then? So you want to make sure that the referrals are coming from someone that's already experienced what you do in some way, shape, or form. So what is a system? A system is a set of detailed methods, procedures, and routines established or formulated to carry out a specific activity, perform a duty, or solve a problem in a predictable, sustainable, and consistent way. So one of the keys I want to point out here is predictable, sustainable, and consistent. One of the things we're looking to do with our referral system is make sure those three things are true. So what is a referral system? A referral system is a set of detailed methods, procedures, and routines established to generate referrals in a predictable, sustainable, and consistent way. And again, there's those words, predictable, sustainable, and consistent, which is very important. I want to take a moment now and just, share with you a little bit about the term word of mouth. I hear this often from my clients and often people that I talk to in the business community. They say, hey, Tom, the best way to grow your business is through word of mouth. Just out of curiosity, how many of you would say that this is true? Go ahead and type in the chat box there. Yep, so obviously there's lots of people that believe this to be true, but the reality is word of mouth is not a system. It's hoping that you're going to get business. This isn't predictable, it's not sustainable, and it's not consistent. So if you don't create a system for generating referrals, it's never going to become a sustainable way for you to grow your business. So why do you need a system? So I just thought, out of curiosity, I'd love some participation here. Who knows why we need a system for referrals? Go ahead and type in the chat box, or maybe Rhonda, you can pull some up from the Facebook Live. What are some reasons that we need a system?
I think it's so you can control it a little bit, because if it's word of mouth, you don't necessarily know if they're talking about you or what they're saying or anything like that. So it gives you just a little bit more control when you are systematic about your approach.
Absolutely. That's very true, right? Word of mouth, as we mentioned before, is crossing your fingers and hoping someone gives you a referral. When you have a system, you can control what the inputs are, and you also, to a certain extent, can predict what the outcomes are going to be as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So you have a predictable way to grow your business versus, something that's inconsistent. But the key here thing is to understand why you need a system is you need to understand the number one reason people don't refer you business in the first place. So who has an idea? Go ahead and type in the chat box. Why don't people refer you business in the first place? Maybe Rhonda, you might have an idea on that one as well. What are some reasons people don't refer us business?
Maybe it's just not a presence of mind thing. If you didn't ask, they, don't think about it. Or they forget. Someone had just put out here, you never asked or they forgot.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Everyone's busy. We've got 100 things on our mind, especially this year. Things have kind of gone sideways on us a little bit, so it's not top of mind, right? So if we're not, asking people when we're not focused on it, they're not going to be focused on it either. And there's numerous reasons that people wouldn't refer you business, but the number one reason that people don't refer you business is because they're afraid you'll damage their reputation. And this is really critical. Think about yourself when you think about referring business to somebody else. You're constantly thinking about, well, gee, is this going to hurt me or how is this going to make me look? And if you really think about this, a great analogy I think about here is imagine your favorite restaurant for a second, the place you love to go to eat. You go there all the time, you have a fabulous time. Now imagine 2 out of the 3 times that you go to this restaurant, you have a fabulous meal and the service is outstanding. But every third time, you have a horrible experience. Now imagine your boss calls you and says, "Hey, Rhonda, guess what? The CEO of our company's coming in next week for a couple days, and I'd love to take him to dinner. What restaurant do you recommend?" Are you going to recommend your favorite restaurant where 30% of the time horrible meal and a horrible experience? Of course not, because you're afraid that if they go there and they're on that one of those off times, it's going to blow up and it's going to make you look bad, right? So people are afraid that you're going to damage their reputation. So you really need to keep this at top of mind. And the truth here is your referability as a business owner and as a business is directly proportional to the consistency of the client experience. So the more consistent their experience is with you and their business, the more likely it is that they're going to refer you business. And hopefully that makes sense.
Mm.
So a system, as we mentioned before, is predictable, sustainable, and consistent. And it's a consistent way for you to build trust with your clients so that not only you're going to protect their reputations, but that you're going to make them look like a rock star when they send you a referral. So a couple statistics for you here. 20% of people will give you or your business a referral without you ever having to ask. These are your great clients that love what you're doing. Now, 20% of your clients are never going to give you a referral if you ask or for whatever reason. So what does that mean? That means that there's 60% of the people that do business with you that are referral opportunities that you're not currently taking advantage of. Most businesses don't pay attention to this and they practice what I call churn and burn sales. They bring in a new customer and then they move on to try to bring in the next customer. And they're never focusing on, repeat business or generating referrals. So if that's your business right now, you're leaving 60% of your clients that are out there not giving you referrals. That's a great opportunity for you to, focus on that. So there are 5 keys to a great referral system. Key number 1 is to have a positive belief system around referrals. I used to do some work for Tony Robbins as one of his top business coaches. And one of the things that we teach our clients there is that any result you create in your business comes down to 2 things. 80% of your results comes down to your mindset and 20% comes down to your strategy. So if you don't have a positive belief system around referrals, you're not going to generate referrals in your business because you're not covering that 80% mindset piece. So just out of curiosity, what are some of your beliefs around referrals? Who would like to share? Go ahead and type in the chat box on Facebook Live, or Rhonda, maybe you can ferret through some of those for us as well. What are some of your beliefs around referrals? Anyone have any thoughts? What are some of your beliefs when you think about referrals? What are some of the things that you believe to be true around referrals, or maybe some of your hangups? It takes
It's
time to get referrals because of trust, Dawn mentions. Absolutely, right? So you have to build trust with your clients and your customers before you can generate referrals. Who else has a belief system around referrals?
very important to growing our business.
Yeah, that's a great comment from Elliot. They're important to growing your business, right? The easiest way to grow your business, right, is through referrals from people that have already experienced what you do. So this is super important if you want to grow your business, especially if you want it to be easy to grow your business. What else? How about one more share?
I think they're just really powerful because, you know, I look at reviews all the time and it's sort of just the same thing as a review, just of someone who has done business, not like
Mm-hmm.
necessarily a product review. And someone else said, it seems that you do it in exchanging.
Ah,
So,
sure. Yeah. So sometimes it's sort of like a bartering economy, right? Like we exchange referrals with each other, especially in a networking group like what you run here. We're exchanging referrals back and forth with different businesses. So those things are all certainly true. I want you to think, though, deep down inside, when you think about referrals, are your belief systems empowering you? In other words, do you easily ask for referrals and have no hangups about that? Or are they disempowering you? Do you have some negative belief systems around referrals? Just think about that for a moment. And as you do, I want you to introduce you to this gentleman here. He has a little thought in his mind, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to this. Asking for referrals will make my clients feel uncomfortable. Just out of curiosity, type yes in the chat box or raise your hand if this is true for you. Yeah, absolutely, right? Most of us feel this way, that asking for referrals will make my clients feel uncomfortable. So if you have that belief system, that's a disempowering belief system around referrals. What's the likelihood that you're going to ask? Pretty small, right? So if you have hangups around this, then you're not going to ask. You're not going to be able to fulfill the promise to those 60% of the people that you have an opportunity with, because you're just not going to do it. So we need to work on our mindset here first. So what are some key beliefs of referral rock stars, people that are great at referrals? So I'm just curious here, go ahead and type in the chat box, or Rhonda, you can filter through the Facebook comments. What are some beliefs of people that are great at referring business? What comes to mind?
I think, if you deliver, then it's much easier to ask, and I think that's very true. I feel like I'm so busy looking for new leads that I don't always think about going back to existing clients. But great connectors are the ones that are the referral rock stars. Some people are just more, I think, people centric, and it's
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
easier
seems
for
to come easy to them, right? Yeah,
yeah.
someone
Or they're
mentioned.
more of a natural salesperson, right? It's part of like your sales process. It's one of the things that you're asking.
Yep,
And you also have to have confidence in your ability to deliver, because that's really obviously the crux of all of this, I think.
absolutely. Yeah, so confidence, sales skills, having that outgoing personality that usually describes someone that we would call a referral rock star, right? Well, here's some of the ones that I notice. Number one, referral rock stars have the intention of building their business through referrals. That's what they want to do. They have that intention up front, that they say, hey, the best way to grow my business is through good quality referrals. And they're working on that on a daily basis. That's a main focus of theirs. Number two, they don't have any hangups or disempowering beliefs around asking for referrals. So it's easy for them because their mindset is such. And this is really important, because if you have a block around asking for referrals, you're going to have a really hard time stepping up the plate and doing that. Whereas if you find it easy to do it, then you're going to get referrals easily, because you're going to ask on a consistent basis. You're an integrity. You give referrals as well as receive them. Dr. Ivan Meisner, the guy that founded Business Networking International, talks about this all the time. He says, givers gain. So referral rock stars are not just there to get referrals. Most of the time, they're giving referrals because they believe that's going to come back to them tenfold. So that's important as well. Another one is you align your actions with your intentions by having a systematic process for generating referrals. So this is critically important. This is really why we're here today, to talk about how do you build a systematic process for generating referrals. People that are really good at this do this, and they're intentional about it. And then this one's really key and important as well. You believe that you add massive value and deserve to be referred. See, if you don't have that confidence that you're adding value for people and that you deserve to be referred, they're not going to believe it either. I always tell my clients, the first sale you make is always to yourself. So if you don't believe you're adding massive value, then your clients certainly aren't going to believe that either. And the bottom line here, there we go. Sorry about that. Is to be successful with referrals, you need to develop a rock solid mindset, and you also need to learn how to influence your client's mindset. So it's not just about you wanting to generate referrals and ask for referrals. It's also about you being able to make it easy for them to do it, and have them being comfortable with that as well. Hopefully that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So key number two is you've got to set the expectation up front that you appreciate referrals. This is really important because there's a huge myth that referrals come after the sale. How many of you believe that referrals come after the sale? I see you shaking your head, Rhonda. What are
Yeah,
some of the
I mean, I've always
comments?
thought about it that way.
Yeah, most of us think about it that way, right? It's like, hey, we do business, we do a great job, and then after that, that's when we get referrals. Here's the reality. Every interaction before, during, and after the sale determines if you're going to get referrals or not. Why is that true? Why is it true that every interaction before, during, and after the sale will determine whether or not you get referrals?
I think it's because that's all part of why you get the sale. I mean, depending on what kind of business you're in and what you're selling, it could be a long process,
Hmm.
and if, um, have always honored, showing up on time and being professional and all the things that sort of build up to why they would buy from you in the first place,
Yes, that's
you know,
very true.
there's a lot that leads up to that.
Yeah, so keep in mind what we talked about before. People don't care about you or your business, they care about their reputation. So again, they're thinking about as they're interacting with you from the first time they met you all the way through your sales process, all the way through you fulfilling the needs of that client as your client. They're thinking about, hey, what's the experience going to be like for someone that I refer into this business? So if there's any sticking points at any of that process, if they're not having a great experience, if they don't think that you're going to deliver in spades, then they're going to be worried about their reputation. So you've got to make sure that you're treating them in a way that they're going to, want to refer you business, and that you're adding massive value at every step of the process, because they're wondering, hey, how is my referral going to be treated in this business? So if you want to be able to develop referrals, you have to create customer evangelists. Who knows what I mean by customer evangelist? Go ahead and type in the chat box or on Facebook Live. What does it mean to be a customer evangelist? Any ideas?
Those are like your best supporters. They're the ones who will go out and tell everybody whether you've asked for it or not, probably. They're just, uh,
Exactly, right? So, your evangelists are the people that love you. If you think about like a church, right? Who's the evangelist? They're going out and sharing that message with other people. In fact, I'll share a little story with you. Back when I was working in the corporate world, I was working for a large company, and we had a typical corporate setup where we all worked in cubes and that. And one day, my coworker says to me, "Hey, Tom, did you hear they're opening a Krispy Kremes in the suburbs?" I said, "Krispy Kreme, what is that? I'd never heard of it before." And she's like, "You've never had a Krispy Kreme before?" I go, "No, what is it?" She's like, "Oh, it's this donut." And she's like, "It's warm and it's got the ooey, gooey, sugary topping on it, and it's so good." And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, you really got to try it." So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I went about my day. Well, the next morning I came into work and I walked into my cube, and sitting on my desk on a nice napkin was a Krispy Kreme donut. And I looked around at all the cubes around me, and every single cube had a Krispy Kreme donut on it. And the woman that sat next to me had gotten up at 5 in the morning. She drove from the city of Chicago out to the suburbs, bought a couple dozen Krispy Kremes, brought them into work, and put them on everyone's desk so everyone could experience what it was like to have a Krispy Kreme donut. That is a customer evangelist. So the key question here that you want to think about is, if your success was entirely determined by one customer, how would you treat that customer? So imagine that for a second. If your success was determined entirely by one customer, how would you treat them? Go ahead and type in the chat box. I'd love to hear. How would you treat your customer if you knew your entire success of your business was riding on that one customer? Who has some thoughts about that?
eight.
Yeah,
Like,
Nelly says, great, right? Obvious. This question is obvious, right? If your success depended on that one customer, you'd roll out the red carpet, right? So you have to build customer evangelists. So here's some keys on how to do that. Number one, you got to wow them at every step of the way. So you need to figure out at every step of the process, every touch point that you touch that customer, have an interaction with them, how can I add massive value at each of those steps, right? Because if you add massive value, then people are going to remember you. They're going to want to share business with you. And the other key to this is you got to make sure that you're not making your business a commodity. If people view your business as like everyone else's business, like if you own a restaurant, say a sandwich shop, and it's like every other sandwich shop in town, then people are going to be indifferent to your business. Not only are they not going to repeat business with you, they're definitely not going to give you referrals because they're not going to really care. So you've got to be able to build customer evangelists to be able to bring more business in and get referrals. So later this month, we're going to be I'll be celebrating Thanksgiving. And one of the things that we do during Thanksgiving before people come over is we set the table, right? And it's certainly something that we need to do with respect to referrals as well, as we need to set the table. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you set the expectation when you set the table on how you work, why you depend on referrals, and what a great referral is. So when you pre-frame this with people, it makes it a lot easier for you to develop and generate referrals. And by the way, if you're hesitant to ask for referrals, this is the key. If you do it up front when you first meet someone, and I'll show you how to do this in a second, it makes it really easy at the end of the process to ask. The other thing that it does is it makes it easier because you have their permission up front to do this. So this is critically important. They're expecting you to ask if you pre-frame this up front. And also the other thing that's important here is if you do this correctly up front, you'll also understand what you need to do to earn their referrals, and also, by the way, earn their business. So let me give you a quick example here. One of the things that I do in my coaching practice is whenever someone's referred to me, or maybe they even come off through some of my other marketing and they're interested in coaching, I always do a complimentary coaching session with them, and I call it, it's a client intake system is basically what I use, and we'll talk about that later in the presentation. But one of the things that I do in that meeting right up front is I have a conversation with them that goes something like this. I say, Rhonda, before we get started today, I want to share with you how I get paid. There's basically two ways I get paid. Today, we're going to do a complimentary coaching session. We're going to get to know each other, and you're going to get to experience coaching. And if everything works out and we feel that this is a good fit, you'll hire me as your coach and you'll pay me for that service. And that's one way I get paid. The other way I get paid is through great quality referrals from my existing clients. I'm certainly not going to ask you for a referral today because we haven't even decided if we're going to do business together. However, after we've decided to do some business together, maybe 2 or 3 months down the road, when you've experienced my coaching for a while, if I do a great job, would you be willing to generate a referral for me or share this with your friends and family? Most people at that time will say, well, of course, Tom, yes. So then what I do is the next thing I say is, great. Well, I really appreciate that. So just so I know what it's going to take to make you a raving fan so that you actually want to give me referrals, what do I need to do to earn your business? So that second question there does two things. Number one, it allows you to understand what you need to do to get their business in the first place, so that during that next part of the intake there, you can make sure you do those things so you get the sale. But it also lays the groundwork for what you need to do to generate a referral from them. So once they become a client and you do those things, now you can circle back and say, hey, remember when we first started, we talked about, what it would take to make you a raving fan. Did I do those three things? Well, yeah, Tom, you did. Absolutely. Great. Well, who do you know that I might be able to help? Who else do you know? What other business owners do you know that could benefit from this? So by setting that up front, you're making it a lot easier later on to ask for referrals. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I see a lot of people shaking their heads. Yes. Okay, perfect. So that's key number 2. Key number 3 here is you have to systematically ask for referrals. And as we mentioned before, hope doesn't work. You need to have a system. So how do you build a system? How do you build a referral system? So here's some keys. Number 1, you want to first identify the biggest opportunities you have. So when you think about different people that could generate referrals, who are those people that come to mind? Who would like to share? Who are some groups that come to mind when you think about referrals for your business? Who are some groups that you would go to for referrals?
Happy clients.
Yeah, that would be one, right? Your happy customers. How about
Others.
your partner? How about your partners? Most businesses have partners that they deal with, or even a networking group. You have, networking partners, right? That would be a great place. What else? Other service providers, Dawn says. How about prospects? Could we get referrals from prospects? Friends and family? Absolutely. So here's some ones that I've come up with. Close friends, prospects, existing customers, partners, friends, family. Other places, your website. A lot of businesses get referrals from Yelp. They get referrals from, Google. They get referrals from their website, social media, Facebook, Instagram. Those places are great places to get referrals. Also, your networking contacts. So the key is what you want to do to build a referral system is pick one of these groups to start with and start building a referral system around them. So once you have your group that you want to focus on, let's say it's your existing customers, you want to leverage your natural touch points. So you want to think about, what are all the times that I interact with this client? And then how can I use those opportunities to generate referrals? So for example, we just talked about the initial interaction. When someone's first a prospect and you're first enrolling them as a client, that's a great time to set the table and the expectation for referrals. Another great time is after the first sale. When someone first buys something from you, they're super excited to start to work with you, or maybe you sell a product and they just bought the product, they're super excited. That would be another time that you could ask for referrals. You could do it after a set period of time. Maybe say, hey, at the end of a month of working together is when I do that. Or maybe it's at the end of a customer experience. Maybe you own a restaurant, they come in and they have a great experience, and at the end, before they're leaving, you ask them for a referral. Or maybe it's when they stop being a customer. Maybe you worked with them for a year, and then at the end of that process, when you've gotten great results with them, you ask them at that point. The key is you want to think about, what are my natural touch points, and then how can I turn those into opportunities for referrals? And at each touch point, what you want to do is you want to leverage what I call your 3 keys to success. So key number 1 is you want to do what I call getting the affirmative. So studies show that when someone is thinking highly of your product or service, they're more likely to refer you. So what you want to do to get the affirmative, you want to ask them a question about their experience that is going to elicit a positive response. So they're talking about your business in a positive way, and then you want to ask them for the referral. The other thing that's true is studies also show that when someone's answered yes to a couple questions in a row, they're more likely to answer yes to the next question. So if you ask them a couple yes questions, hey, did you have a great experience today? Yes, we did. Hey, do you think you'll be coming back another time? Yes, I will. Then that next question, they're most likely to say yes to. You can say, hey, would you mind, writing a testimonial or giving us a referral? Yes, that would be great. So you can use this process as step number 1, getting the affirmative, to help you generate referrals. So number 2, you want to ask for what you want. This is really critical, because most people, when they ask for referrals, they ask a really lame question. Hey, who do you know that could benefit from my service? And what's the answer to that question? Most people will go, oh, gee, I can't think of anyone right now, right? But I'll think about it and I'll get back to you on that. And usually that never happens. Because see, the way the human brain works is it works almost like a library, right? So if you went into a library and asked the librarian, hey, can you find me a book? The librarian would laugh at you, right? Because that's a stupid question. Of course I can help you find a book. But if you said, hey, I want a book on World War II generals, they can say, yeah, I can find that for you. They know exactly where it is, right? So the more specific you ask, the more specific question you ask, the more likely it is that someone's going to come up with an answer. So I'll give you a great example from one of my clients. I had a client that used to work for a financial services company, and he would always ask for referrals. And at the end of every appointment, he would say, hey, who do you know that could benefit from my service? And he'd usually get not very many referrals, because people would say, oh, gee, I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. So what we did was I asked him, I said, what's the vision for your business? And he said, Tom, I would like every business owner within a 5-mile radius of my office to know who I am. And I love to do business with everyone that's making at least $250,000 and above. I said, great. I said, what I want you to do is I want you to get a laminated map. And he did. And I said, let's put a big black circle on a 5-mile radius outside of your office, which he did. And I said, great. When you ask for referrals, what I want you to do is I want you to pull this map out, and I want you to pull it on the table. And I want you to say, hey, look, what I'm really looking for and how you can really help me here is, who do you know that resides within this circle, within this 5-mile radius of my office, that's a business owner that's making at least $250,000. So he said, okay, great, Tom, I'll try it. So the very next appointment, he went out and he tried this. And he asked the vague question first. He said, who do you know that you think I could help? And the guy says, I'd love to help you. I really don't know. Nothing's coming to mind. So he took out the map and he put it on the table and he said, who do you know that's a business owner in this circle that makes more than $250,000 a year? The guy came up with 10 names, gave him 10 referrals because he was very specific. So my point here is you have to ask specifically for what you want. So you want to ask for your ideal client, the type of person you want to work with. And finally, number 3, as we've talked about, you've got to protect their reputation. So you want to make sure that you're protecting their reputation, then you're explaining to them how you're going to protect their reputation. We're going to get to this in a few minutes, but I think it's critical that every business have a client intake system, so that when that client comes into your business, they experience the same thing every single time. So that when someone gives you a referral, you can come back and say, hey, I take them through the same exact process that you went through when you became a client or a customer of mine, so that they know exactly what that person's going to go through and that they know that you're going to protect their reputation. And then finally here, you want to make this happen automatically and systematically. So the way you do that is once you sat down and identified, hey, what are the touch points? How am I going to add value? How am I going to ask for referrals? That you document this and execute it on a consistent basis. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anyone have any questions on this?
You might be getting to this in a couple minutes. I don't know, but do you have any thoughts on incentivizing people to
Mhm.
do referrals?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I was just about to get
I'm
to,
sorry.
but you're stealing my thunder here. But absolutely, right? So, I mean, I think it's important, especially if you own a business with lots of employees. All those employees, most of them are touching your customers in various ways. Like, for example, one of my clients is an insurance company. So he has customer service people. People are calling about their claims and things like that that are dealing with his customers. He has a whole staff of salespeople, both outside salespeople that are making calls on businesses and inside salespeople that are calling out to businesses. So one of the things he does is every month they do an incentive program for referrals, and they track and measure what they're doing. And then when people generate referrals, they get points for asking for referrals. They also get points for actual referrals in the business that comes in. And then they have prizes and all sorts of financial incentives to do that as well. So you can incentivize your team to do that. You can do that with partners. That's important. You know, and a lot of internet businesses today, they get a lot of business from their affiliates. So their affiliates go promote those things out to their customer base, and they can make, incentivized, commissions on those sales. So it's a great way to, generate more business and more referrals for you. Absolutely. Any other questions on how to build the system? Okay, great. Key number 4 is you want to make it easy to provide you referrals. The reality here is that, you're not on everyone's radar. Most people today have 100 other things that they're thinking about, and they're not thinking about your business. And they're certainly not thinking about, hey, how can I help Rhonda grow her business today, right? That's not top of mind. So you have to make it easy for people to generate referrals for you. The way you do that, by the way, is you want to leverage all your marketing and sales efforts. So any business is doing all sorts of things from a marketing and sales perspective. So you want to make sure that you're in the right place at the right time all the time. So what you want to do is you want to leverage things, for example, your email signature. On my email signature, it says, hey, the biggest, the biggest, the biggest thing that someone can do for me is the biggest compliment they can give me is a quality referral. And it says that right on the bottom of the email signature. So it reminds people that I'm looking for referrals. Your website is a great place for referrals. You can put testimonials up on there. You can ask your customers for referrals. Yelp is another way to generate referrals. Have people put testimonials up there, and that's going to help you generate business. Social media and your Facebook page, you can ask for referrals there. So you want to leverage everything you're doing from a sales and marketing perspective. You want to incentivize your sales teams to ask for referrals. Again, remember, 60% of your customers want to give you referrals, but they're not because you're not asking. There was a survey that was done a couple of years ago where they found that 90% of your customers want to give you referrals, but only 10% of the salespeople are asking for them. It's a huge opportunity. All you have to do is ask on a consistent basis. So you want to leverage all those touch points and all those marketing and sales efforts. So I want to touch on this, and I mentioned this before, the importance of a client intake system. You want to utilize a consistent intake system for all your clients and customers. The reason you want to do that is because when a prospect goes through that process and becomes a customer of yours, and that's the system you use every single time, when they go to give you a referral, you can say, hey, they're going to go through the same process that you went through. So you want to make sure that they know what that process is, that they've experienced that, and that's what the referral is going to go through. The other thing I like to do is I like to lower the expectations when someone gives me a referral. What I always say is, hey, look, I'm not expecting that they're going to become a client. The reason I do that is I want them to know that, hey, I'm not going to be that pesky salesperson that once you give me their number, I'm going to contact them 50 times a day until they buy from me. That's everyone's worst nightmare, right? So you want to make sure that you let people know, hey, I'm not assuming they'll become a client. They're going to go through my process here, and whether or not they decide, to work with me, they're going to get something out of that process that's going to add value for them. So whether or not we do business, it's going to be valuable use of their time. And then also, you want to make sure when someone gives you a referral that you get to know as much as you possibly can about that referral before you contact that referral, so that you know how they know the person that referred them, what they're looking for, what some of their challenges are, anything that you can find out about them up front so that you can use those things to build rapport with that person. So a couple other tips here with your client intake system. One of the things that I always want to do is make sure that if someone's giving me a referral, that they're making an introduction to me. Oftentimes people say, well, hey, I know someone that could use your business or whatever. I'll have them give you a call. How often does that actually happen? Usually zero. So what I ask people to do is say, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you just drop them an email and me an email and introduce us, and then I can take it from there? So that way I know that we're introduced, and then I can control that process. So that's really important. The other thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that whoever refers me to that person, I keep them in the loop. So what I do after I contact the person that they referred to me, I drop them an email. Hey, just want to let you know we talked on the phone. We set up a time to meet. After we meet, I let them know, hey, we met last Friday. We had a great meeting. They became a client, or they're thinking about it, or they didn't become a client, but we had a great experience together. So I want to let them, keep them abreast of what's going on in that process. And the other thing that I like to do that's really going to set you apart from everybody else is after you go through that intake process, I always ask the person that was referred to me, hey, would you do me a favor? Would you reach out to the person that referred you and introduced us and say thank you to them? Because think about this again, that person is worried about their reputation. If they get a call from the person that they referred you and said, hey, I met with Tom, it was fantastic, I'm going to do some coaching work with him, thanks for the introduction, guess what, they're going to send me referrals like crazy because they know that I'm going to protect their reputation. So that's a key that will set you apart from people. So it's really critical here that you have an intake system to intake your clients and that you have a consistency to that process. Hopefully that makes sense. So finally, our final key number 5 here is you got to track your success. So as the old saying goes, you can't manage what you don't measure. So the key thing here is we talked about we want to build a consistent, predictable, sustainable system. And the way you do that is you track and measure so that you can see what's working and what's not working. And over time, you're going to have a predictable system. You say, hey, if I ask for a referral at these points in the process, I know I'm going to get X amount of referrals, and I know I'm going to convert this percentage of those referrals. So as you track and measure this, you're going to be able to predict over time how much business you're going to be able to get from your referral system. So A plus B equals C. Now you've got a system you can totally control. The other thing here is you can optimize the system over time. So once you have the system in place, we can make little tweaks to it that are going to make it better over time so that it keeps getting better and better and better. So the key question I have for you now is, what would having a referral system do for your business? As I laid this out today, I want you to imagine that you actually did this in your business. What do you think it would do for your business? Go ahead and type in the chat box or on Facebook, type in the box. What would it do if you had a referral system for your business like this?
Grow exponentially.
Yeah, someone said grow exponentially. Absolutely. So how many of you think you could double your business? Yeah, Dawn mentions here, I could help it grow beyond what I can do by myself. Absolutely. Nellie says, yeah, she can totally double her business. How about triple your business? Who thinks they could triple their business here? I've literally seen people do this. Yep. Sandeep says, yes, absolutely. Could triple my business if I did this. Perhaps even more. You know, I don't want to limit you to just doubling or tripling. You could go even further than that. In fact, I know a lot of people that the only thing they do to grow their business is referrals. I know people that don't have a website, don't have a business phone, they don't have any of that stuff that we normally do. They get all sorts of business just through word of mouth and through referrals because they have a systematized approach to it. So some final thoughts for you. A couple things that you want to keep in mind. There's an old saying that knowledge is power. I don't believe that to be true. I believe knowledge is knowledge. If you have knowledge, you have knowledge. That's it. Execution is power. So what I want for you is, now that you know all this stuff, and some of this may have been repeat for you, the key is to pick some of these things and actually execute on them. So what you've got to do is you've got to create some space in your week to start building your system and then start to execute this so that you can get the results you want. So keep in mind, 99% of the world knows what to do. It's the 1% that actually does it that has success. And if you don't learn anything else and you don't implement anything else from our, presentation today, there's one thing I want you to take away is that's all you have to do is ask for referrals. Remember that slide earlier, churn and burn selling, right? 60% of your customers are there that you can get referrals from, and 90% of them will give you referrals if you just ask. Really simple. So if you only do one thing, that's it. So just to recap here, key number one, you have to have a positive belief system around referrals. Remember, 80% of your success is your mindset. So if you have some hangups around your belief systems for referrals or anything like that, go on my website, sign up for a complimentary coaching session. I will teach you how to get rid of those belief systems. That's really important. Number two, set the expectation up front that you appreciate referrals, or as I call setting the table. Make sure up front when you first meet a prospect, you let them know that you want to do business by referrals, and then set that expectation up front with them. Systematically ask for referrals. Remember, identify the key groups that you want to get referrals with. What are the touch points that you have with each of those people? And then how can you ask for referrals during those times? And how can you add massive value? Key number four, make it easy to provide referrals. Leverage all your marketing and your sales efforts, provide incentive to your sales teams and your partners, and your referrals will start to skyrocket. And then number five, you got to track your success. When you track this, you're going to develop a system that's consistent and predictable so that you know every month how much business is going to come in. Remember, we talked about word of mouth is crossing your fingers and hoping business will come in. When you have a systematized approach, you'll know exactly how much business is going to come in. So a couple other bonuses that I have for you today. First of all, if you go up on my website, businesscoachchicago.com, there's a free download there called the 5 Keys to a Great Referral System. It goes over a lot of what we talked about today, and there's a bunch of other stuff in there. It goes more in depth on this. So it's a free download. It's a PDF, goes right to your computer, and it'll show you how to implement the system like this step by step. So feel free to, go out to the website and grab that. And then also, I have a private Facebook group called Continuous Referrals. It's facebook.com/groups/continuous referrals. If you go on Facebook and you have a profile there, simply click on this. It'll ask you a couple questions, and then I'll let you into the group. I literally have, hundreds of business owners that are a part of this group. We talk about how to build our business through referrals. I put up some free training on there. I do Facebook Lives from time to time and post lots of good tips and things like that. So if you're serious about growing your business through referrals and building a referral system, I encourage you to join my group. It's free. There's all sorts of great people in there to network with as well. So outside of that, who has questions? Wanted to give you guys an opportunity, if you have questions about any of this, to ask me. We've got a few minutes here to answer any questions that you might have.
Do you incentivize ever like the actual people who give the referrals, not so much internally from like a sales and marketing type thing, but like I know our orthodontist, if I refer people they give like a $50 gift card or gift card, that
Sure.
kind of. Are you a fan of doing that? Do you think that's appropriate, or does it feel too like you're buying somebody? I don't know.
Well, again, Rhonda, I think it comes back to your mindset, right? Are you comfortable with that? It starts with you. So if you're not comfortable with it and you try to execute that, it'll make it feel real uncomfortable for other people because they're going to sense that you're not comfortable with that. But absolutely, I mean, a little extra incentive and a thank you is definitely appropriate. What I tend to do in my business is I don't go out and say to people, hey, if you give me a referral, I'll give you $100 or whatever, right? What I do though, is if they do give me a referral, they get a thank you gift. So I don't tell them that I'm going to do that, but if they give me a referral, I'll send them a nice gift, handwritten note, a card, a thank you email, something to acknowledge that and thank them for that. And again, I'll also keep them in the loop. So I'll send them a nice note that says, hey, thanks for referring Rhonda over to me. We did a complimentary session together. She hired me as her coach and she's doubled her business in the last couple months. So thanks for the referral. I really appreciate that. So, you certainly want to incentivize people and certainly want to reward people. So you need to figure out for your business what works best. Who has other questions?
Once a client signs on, our team takes over to perform the work. What's the best way to empower them to suggest or ask for referrals?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? So I think when you have a team of people, it's really critical and important that you get the team together and talk about what we just talked about, the importance of referrals, and then talk about those touch points and work together as a team to figure out, hey, how could we incentivize people or how can we incentivize our staff to ask for referrals? And at what point do we want to do that? And systematically, how do we want to do that? How do we get the affirmative? How do we ask the question in a way that we're comfortable with? How do we follow up on that opportunity and build a systematized approach to that? And like I talked about in the systems, section of the presentation, document that. Hey, here's our step-by-step process. Then train your team. This is what we're going to do. Then track and measure what they're doing. Hey, are you guys doing it? How is it working? Do we need to adjust this a little bit? And then let's keep doing it as we get results from that. And then also share the success of that, right? So as your team starts to, do this and they start to win and get incentives and make more money, you can share that. Hey, Tom had a great month this month. He got 10 referrals and he got $1,000 bonus. So people go, wow, this is working, right? So that's going to encourage people to do more and more of that.
Tom, can you show your bonus one slide again?
Yes, absolutely. So if you go on my website, here's the URL is here. If you downloaded my presentation, you can just click on it and it'll go right to it. But if you don't want to copy down the link, if you just go to businesscoachchicago.com, it's right there on the front page. So you'll see it right away. You'll see this graphic here, the 5 keys to a great referral system. You just click on that, put your email address in, and it'll drop it right to your email.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Are there any other questions?
I'm not seeing any, but we can give folks a couple more minutes and see if they come in. Do you find too that the more you do this, just the more you get used to it, it becomes almost an organic part of your business, right?
It does, absolutely. When you start to get comfortable with it, it's like anything else. When you start a new habit, at first it's a little awkward, but then as you do it and you start building momentum and you start having some good results, then it starts to become a habit, and then it just starts to become a way that you do things. So like I talked about the client intake system, that's something in my business I've been doing the same way for 18 years. I've worked with over 2,000 clients in 18 years. So I've done that system probably 4,000 times. So I can do it in my sleep, literally. So what's great about that is not only do I do the same thing every time, so I know it really well and I'm comfortable with it, but the client is comfortable with it as well. So it goes really smoothly and it's evident to the person that I'm meeting with, that prospect, that I'm super confident in what I do. So my close ratio on referrals is 100%. I almost always close referrals because they come to me from customers that have great experience with me. And then I'm confident in that enrollment process. So the more you do it, the more it becomes ingrained and the more of a habit it becomes. And then the more you get out of it. So absolutely, it's just a matter of doing it on a consistent basis.
Right. Someone asked if you have any recommendations for tools to help with the mindset piece of it and getting comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a couple tools that will help you right away. Number one, a great coach. Get a great coach. Most of us coaches work on mindset, and the quickest way to get rid of your negative mindset and reprogram it is to work with a great coach. So one of the things I do offer on my website is you can sign up for a complimentary coaching session. We spend an hour together. We can dig into what your belief systems are, and you'll walk away with a bunch of things you can do to help that. A couple other things. There's a book by Carol Dweck. The name of it's escaping me right now, but Carol Dweck, Dweck, wrote a great book on mindset. Number two, anything from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is really good at helping people shift their mindsets. So any of his books, like Awaken the Giant Within, those types of books will help you with that. And again, if you, my mind's escaping me a little bit here, but if you want to drop me an email at tomkelly@potentialinmotion.com, I'll give you a list of books and stuff that will help you with mindset.
Nellie gave you a great recommendation here.
Thomas, I appreciate that.
Thanks for your giveaway.
Oh, thanks, Nellie. I appreciate that. Yeah, Nellie and I, did some work, some quite extensive work a while back. So I appreciate you, the recommendation there. And as I mentioned, if anyone that's on the call today or anyone that watches the video here, if you want to do a complimentary coaching session, We spend an hour on the phone, no obligation. I'm not going to do a hard sell on you to, work with me as a coach, but I will tell you this. After an hour, you will get 2 or 3 things that you can implement right away in your business that'll help you go to the next level. And if you're looking on working on mindset or referral system or any other challenges you're having with your business, highly recommend it because you'll get away, you'll take away a couple things that'll help you go to the next level.
Would it be okay to ask for everyone on this presentation to share their info just as a networking request?
I'll leave that one up to you, Rhonda.
Yeah.
One thing I would recommend, Sandeep, is if you're interested in networking, join my continuous referrals group. There's literally hundreds of business owners in there. If you're looking for networking and stuff like that, it's a great place to do it.
Yeah, I would make that voluntary. I know we don't typically share that information just out of privacy, considerations, but if people voluntarily want to do that, they're welcome to. But I think that's a great idea about joining Tom's group. It's a good suggestion.
Awesome. Is there anything else that I can do to add value for anyone today?
I'm not seeing anything pop up, but I just, again, would like to thank you so much, Tom, for your time and great information. That was really helpful. I think sometimes it seems like a great idea abstract, but it's nice when you can break things down in a step-by-step, system, which is what really
Absolutely.
makes something successful versus just kind of a good idea, when you can actually visualize, okay, this is what I'm going to do and have a process, I think is so important.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And thank you for the opportunity. Again, if you guys take just one thing away from today, start asking for referrals and execute that on a consistent basis, and you'll see the benefits of that.
All right, great. Well, I hope all of you have a great week. Happy Monday. Thanks for spending some of your time with us today. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you all again on another presentation. And thanks again to Tom. See you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
I'm going to end the Zoom now. Thanks so much.